Hello, and welcome to the Unstoppable You Life After Divorce, where we speak into how to let go, reinvent yourself, and say hello to the new you. I'm Amy Shade. I'm your host, and today we have Tierra Womack. She has an MBA, right? She's a best-selling author, a radio host, speaker, and founder of The Brave Way. She's a multi-platform mompreneur of 16 years whose businesses have generated over 7 figures. As a business growth specialist, confidence and wealth coach, Tara helps successful females, solo entrepreneurs, generate more success while working less for greater time, freedom, and balance in their business. Welcome, Tara. So happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much.
So I read your bio, but tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience and how you help women in their life.
Yes, absolutely. So, my main goal when working with my clients who are female solo entrepreneurs who have achieved a certain level of success within their business, but are still dealing with a lot of those blocks that we as women face when we have these successful businesses that we've built, what I call these beasts of a business that now seem a lot more complex than when they first started. So, it's my role to come in and help us simplify not only the business processes, but also get to the core, the mindset functions that really will help you propel and allow yourself or give yourself permission to work less in your business, whether that's through delegation or whatever that may look like, and really realize that you deserve to work less in your business without grinding yourself down into, just the wheelhouse of building and continuing to thrive in your business.
So yes, I know we're going to talk about the confidence to be wealthy. So tell me about what you're seeing in the relationship between women and wealth. Like, what dynamics are you seeing there?
I'll be honest with you. A lot of my clients, and I will put myself in this bucket as well, when they've achieved a certain level of success, they still don't feel quite worthy of having that success. And so you actually are seeing, or I'm actually seeing a lot more women that have these inner critic, imposter syndrome, these limiting beliefs that are coming to surface that they may not have necessarily even realized were there or they thought would not be there after they've amassed a certain amount of financial freedom in their lives. So that's what I'm seeing: a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment of, being able to speak out and say, hey, I have reached a certain level of wealth and I'm not quite sure where to go from here. And or to say, you know what, I want more wealth in my life without feeling shame around that. I see so many women that are fearful of saying, I want more. It's almost like a secret that they keep to themselves. And I say, no, scream it out loud. We are here to be abundant. We are here to be prosperous. And it's okay to say, I deserve those things in my life.
Mm-hmm. And our audience today we are speaking to women life after divorce or a breakup, yes, or like going through a transition, or maybe even thinking about making that, taking that step. Mm-hmm. And maybe, we were used to a certain kind of lifestyle or not, but how can we re-navigate wealth and the confidence of rebuilding wealth and in that transition after like a major loss?
Yes.
A relationship.
Yeah, well, that was me. I lived that. I went through that twice, where I was in relationships with men that were of a more higher income bracket. Okay. And I stayed way too long in those relationships due to the lifestyle. And so I was afraid to leave because I wasn't sure what to do for myself in regards to having successful businesses. Yes, but they were also, really entrenched in the relationship. So, for me, I live that, and I know that when I finally made the decision to leave both of those relationships, especially the last one, it was important for me to say, okay, what am I rebuilding to? What am I aspiring to have in my life? Once I really was aware of the fear that kept me in those relationships too long, to say, okay, you know what, if I have to rebuild anyway, I'm going to rebuild massively. And I'm not going to be embarrassed or afraid to say that. If we have to way, ladies, let's do it in a big way. And that means different things to different women. Okay. So for me, it may mean building 9-figure business. To someone else, some of my other clients, it just means having, 5 figures and being able to travel cross country. But I always say it takes gas to do that, right? So when you're having to rebuild, it's scary enough. I really am a firm believer that when you have means of income or means to have the funds to do so, where it's easier, where you're not so bogged down with the decisions of how to take care of yourself, how to take care of your family and or children financially, that it makes that rebuild process so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's powerful because I've worked with many women who that is the situation. They're in a situation where their husband makes the money and they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to leave is such a scary thought because they
Mm-hmm.
maybe haven't worked because they've been moms or
Yep.
whatnot. So, if you could speak to those women, what would you say?
I would say know that you have it within you to be as successful as you desire to be. Okay. And you will be able to rebuild. There is life at the other end of the tunnel. It's just a matter of resetting yourself, your foundation, because I think of it as a gift to rebuild. Now you get to do it your way. No more doing it for the husband, for the children. Now you get back to who you are as a woman and say, you know what? This is what my next chapter is looking like. I am going to rewrite my story and make it what I desire, what I dream. Let's shoot beyond the stars and land somewhere in that space that says, you know what? I am living a life that I have dreamed of, that I was scared to even desire because it's so delicious. It's so beautiful. And know that you can have that. As scary as it is right now, I know it's scary. I know sometimes it's only the only thing you can do is put one foot in front of the other, and that's enough, and that's okay. But the fact that you have even tuned in
Mm-hmm.
to that Amy has put together means that you are on the right track. It takes, you can only get to the next level one step at a time. So you're doing the right things.
Mm-hmm. So let's dive a little deeper. I kind of went into the beginning about wealth and women and our beliefs about it or our thoughts about it. Could you speak like a little bit more around how that keeps us stuck in the cycle of not creating the wealth that we truly desire?
Absolutely. Okay, so if we look at we as women, from thousands and millennia, back, we are those individuals that take care of everyone else. Okay, whether it's the household, the children, that has traditionally been our role over hundreds and thousands of years. So when it comes time to rebuild, when it comes time to think about what you want in your next chapter and wanting wealth, we have all of these subconscious limiting beliefs to say, who are you to put yourself first, right? Because when you say you want wealth, when you say that you want certain things in your life, it essentially is saying you're putting yourself first. It's essentially saying, I am the most important person in my life, and you are. You are, but we are taught to feel bad if we think that or say that. So when it comes to amassing wealth, women traditionally also are not taught how to build wealth. That has traditionally been a male role. The men are taught how to make money, and the women are taught how to maintain the money that the males make. And so I'm saying now we can start to look at the array of female entrepreneurs that are emerging or that are currently in the the work environment, right? And this landscape and say, you know what, when we are looking at this wealth dynamic, it looks different, but it feels unfamiliar because of that generational lineage we've had through our mothers, our grandmothers, great grandmothers, and other women around us that may have been taught differently than to say, you know what, you can amass a certain amount of wealth. And I also want to say this too, for us as women, and you know, those that are in this community that are entrepreneurs or even in corporate America, understanding that wealth is not just the numbers or the amount of zeros that are in your bank account. I am talking about time freedom, because for me, I feel like time can actually be the real wealth. How much time you have to enjoy life. Okay, in this next chapter, if you're going through divorce or after divorce, what that looks like for you to have the self-care and all those other aspects, that is wealth. Okay. And then you have the zeros in your account. Yes, financial wealth. And then you also have health of self, you know, health being wealth, the mindset. All of those aspects are so important. So it's very well rounded when we're talking about wealth, and it's not just the dollars in the sense, so to speak.
Yes, and that's why women, we are circular, right? And men are
Mhm.
linear, straight.
Yeah,
But I do kind of, something popped up to
really.
me that it's just
Yeah.
is such a beautiful time for women right now,
Mhm.
is that we are able to see other women succeed everywhere,
Mm.
like
Oh my
because of the
gosh.
internet. And like, can you
Mhm.
talk about the new opportunities for us to really absorb that and embody that and take that in?
Oh my, let me tell you something. When I was rebuilding, that was everything. To be able to see women, whether or not I knew their story, but
Mhm.
to see them succeeding in having on the surface, because you know it's social media and whatnot, but just being able to see these women that look like they have happiness and joy and abundance in their life. Okay, as mothers, as entrepreneurs, as corporate leaders, and to say, you know what, I know I have that in me. I've been in these capacities before. I will be there again. So these women that we're able to see through all these various channels become evidence for you, and they were evidence for me that this can be done. And so, you know, anytime I felt low, I had like 2 to 3 women that I would go to and just, you know, say, okay, this is inspiration. This is inspiration. I have to keep going.
Yeah, and I think that's such a important, because like I grew up in the 70s, so there was none of this going on.
Right.
There was no role models. There was
Mhm.
no role models of wealthy women and having even healthy relationships in their wealth, and that they were happy, and um so I think
Absolutely.
it's important for us to really actually realize just how lucky we are to have these people like you, even Tara, like
Yeah.
these examples in front of us of women who are making a difference and being very not I mean successful in a circular way.
Oh my gosh, it's I'm very grateful to be able to experience this as well.
Mm. So okay, we're here. This is where we're at. We're like life after divorce. We are
Mhm,
starting over, you know.
mhm.
Um and so what's the one thing, like let's say we're feeling stuck in this area. So what's the one thing women can do to really get back on track, or to start a track, or
Mhm.
and get out of this feeling stuck?
I would say, huh, you know what I would say, to really look at your mindset. Are you coming from a place of, if we're talking about rebuilding, right? And we
Mhm.
rebuilding wealth, and like we said, in multiple areas, not just financially. What are the mindset patterns and what are the limiting beliefs that you have? You know, and being aware of those. Are you coming from a place where I want more, you know, when I rebuild after divorce, but I don't, like, who am I to receive it and actually get it? You know, I'm not lucky enough. Like when you're going out and you're making purchases for yourself and your family, are you looking at it as an investment? Okay, which would be more of a prosperity mindset, or are you looking at it like, oh my God, another expense, right? Which would
Mhm.
be more of a poverty mindset. Like just of any of that inner critic and that self-sabotage that we as women are so notorious for on ourselves, and just being aware of those belief systems so that you can have a catalyst to and a springboard to shift those when you're rebuilding.
I love that. Let's talk about the poverty mindset versus the prosperity mindset. Let's talk about that, because oftentimes women don't want to spend money on themselves and
Mhm.
their education or their
Mhm.
something that will, you know, move them forward in their wealth or in their life or whatever it is. Can we
Mhm.
speak about that? Can give us just fill us up with that.
Yes, absolutely. I love this. Oh, we could talk for hours. But okay, so here's the thing, going back to my example earlier about what we've been taught, right? Like as women, when it comes to this poverty mindset of more accumulated costs, it may come from your childhood. It may be in that generational lineage, right? Of the poverty maybe your elders experienced. And so you're having these subconscious kind of fears of never having enough or not being able to do more than living check to check, right? I always say, that we as women, you can have the confidence to be wealthy. You have to feel worthy of maintaining the wealth, though. Or,
Mhm.
your limiting beliefs it so that somehow that money starts to trickle out and you're realizing that you're losing a lot of it in various different ways. So, one example I like to give all the time, and I have an exercise that goes more in depth, but I'll just say this, for you women that are watching this, when it comes to thinking about a newborn baby. Okay, you think of how cute the newborn baby is, or maybe a pup really just makes you like snuggle up to this and have love for this tiny object, and just want to love on it and have this really higher level vibrational energy towards it. Now, and to say, I love you, and have this image in your mind of your own child, a niece, a nephew, godchild, like I said, puppy, something, your fur baby, and whatever that feeling is that you have, then I also want you to look at me and say, I love money. And so for those of you ladies who were like, oh, like that's a little blasphemous, like, what do you mean? Like, you can't love money. Like, whatever that first thought was that popped into your mind, that'll tell you where you are in the spectrum of more on the end of poverty. If you were like, oh, that felt uncomfortable. And it's nothing wrong. There's no right or wrong. It's just awareness. But just to see, like, was that uncomfortable for you to say, I love money in the same capacity you would say, like, I love my niece, I love my son, I love my child? Or were you like, yes, I love money because I love what money can do. I love how money allows me to serve. I love how money allows me to take care of myself and my family. I love how money allows me to rebuild with ease. So just seeing where you fall within that capacity really helps you to understand where you are with that poverty or prosperity mindset. And another example I like to do, or exercise I like to do with my clients, is to take a look at the word tracks you use when you are making purchases that are necessary. So for instance, I learned this from one of my mentors. When you are, say for instance, having to fix your car, when you go to pick up your vehicle, are you looking at like, well, what's the damage, right? I hear a lot of women say that, what's my damage? What's the price? Like, what do I owe you?
Mhm.
Or are you saying, what's my investment? Because you're investing in a safe vehicle for yourself and or your family, your children, right? So just looking at the frame we put these words in around money, and seeing if you're more in that, like, oh my God, another expense. But if you have the money for it, again, are you more in that end of the poverty spectrum and how you associate that item that you have to spend money on? Or are you looking at it as like, thank you that I have the money to take care of this? What's my investment? Let's go ahead and take care of it. Now my vehicle is safe for myself and my family and so forth. So,
Yeah, that's very powerful because words matter.
mhm,
Our words really matter. And
absolutely.
as you know, when you start in this business of coaching and helping people, we understand that concept. And yet, I think it's so powerful to put it to money.
Yes, it's fun too. It's
It's
very
fun.
fun.
I mean, I mean, I need to practice, right? Yeah.
Yes, we all do though. It's an ongoing
Yeah.
thing. I think that our mindset around money and wealth and what that looks like for us individually in matter of success, it's an ongoing everyday process to make sure that you're in that right frame of mind.
Yeah. And I believe the shift needs to happen. Like
Oh,
the shift needs to happen so badly. So I'm
yes.
thankful for the work that you do, because
Yeah.
that shift really needs to happen
Hmm.
for us as women.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I just feel like you can do more in the world. Even Mother Teresa had a private jet. Okay. So, and because she was able to serve more, she
Sure.
was able, so it's just understanding. A lot of people say, well, money doesn't make you happy. And I feel like neither does being broke. So when we're talking about rebuilding, it just makes things easier. That's point blank. You still have to deal with all the other BS and things, right? Of
Mhm.
divorce or after your divorce, but it just makes things easier when you have access to money.
And then I'm going to kind of bring it back a little bit to you've brought up confidence,
Mm,
you know,
mhm.
through our conversation. And so, what is your definition of confidence? Like, what is that to you? What does that mean to you?
I
And how
feel
do we
like,
get it? How do you believe we get it and acquire it?
yes. So I feel like confidence is a state of being where you feel empowered. Okay. And I feel like you get confidence through number one, consistency and doing things that light you up, make you feel good, that you're passionate about, and also being aware of the fears and the limitations that would keep you from going after those things, your passions, your loves in life and in relationships and things of that nature, and being able to show up confidently out of fear, like being aware of what that looks like, holding on to that fear and still moving into that space anyhow.
Because I'm thinking if you go through a divorce and that is no longer part of your life,
Mm-hmm.
you like you need to find the confidence to move on your own in
Mm-hmm.
that way. And many of us out there, many of our listeners,
Mm-hmm.
we're not in healthy relationships.
Yep.
They're maybe married to a narcissist or someone
Mm-hmm.
abusive, or someone, either mentally, physically, or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
verbally abusive. And that really takes a hit to our self-esteem, our
Absolutely.
identity of who we are and what we want, or can we even make a confident decision?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So can you speak into those ladies who, like, is it different for them than someone who maybe like walked out of their own like fruition, like their own in empowerment on some level?
Oh my gosh. So, here's the thing. I also am a NPD coach, narcissistic personality disorder. The thing about it is, I feel like if you're dealing with someone who may not only be a narcissist, but just is a high conflict individual, it makes that divorce process, whether it's during the process, before you go through the divorce process, and even after, especially after if you have to continue co-parenting or something to that effect, continue to interact with that individual, it makes everything so much harder because narcissism in particular, MPD, is such a hard disorder to have a handle on. And a lot of narcissists are covert in the sense that you see a different side of your spouse behind, or your ex behind closed doors, than the world sees. So it really is something that, especially if you're not aware that you're even with a narcissist. I know when I was with one or both of my relationships, so I say I have a PhD in narcissism, right? When I was in those, I didn't even know what the word was, but I knew the behavior was off. Fortunately, I also normalized unhealthy behavior in relationships because of my childhood. So I didn't understand that the behavior wasn't something that I deserved, not even so much deserve, but should have been putting up with. I just thought that was a part of being with high profile, high income men. So going back to divorcing a narcissist, it's important that women have a support system, because when you are dealing with a narcissist, you feel very lonely because not a lot of people understand the disorder. And also, it can be embarrassing,
Mm.
right? Especially for like myself, my clients, and the women that I know a lot of, even, friends that are top of the leaderboard in business and in life. And they're bottom of the leaderboard in this relationship. When they go home, they're dealing with a whole different thing. But on the outside to the world, they seem to have it all together. And so it's embarrassing to even bring this up, or you're embarrassed to continue to talk about it to your confidants, because you're still staying, right? You stayed, longer than you should have. And so there are all these various dynamics. And I have partnered with a great friend, Paulette. We actually have an offer in a course specific to divorcing a narcissist for this very reason, because it has so many different layers to dealing with a divorce and a narcissist specifically.
Yes, and I always say, when we covet our pain and we don't tell it, it stays with us.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
so painful
Mm-hmm.
because of shame. We don't want to talk like we're embarrassed or shame, but whenever we covet those, our truth, it's a very painful it's very painful for us.
It is. It's traumatic. And when you have been with a narcissist, many of the women that I know that have been in long-term relationships and marriages, they actually suffer from CPTSD or PTSD. And so the rebuild process looks extremely different, I believe, for women that have been in high conflict marriages and or relationships, because you really have been whittled down to a shell of yourself. So you're rebuilding from a different place versus someone that's going through a divorce, right? Or having an amicable breakup. I think it's very like having an amicable divorce or breakup is very different, because with a narcissist, you'll never get that.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, anyone leaving an unhealthy relationship is going to leave, there's
Scarred.
work to do after, for sure. So I know that you have, I know you're passionate about this, and I know you have a gift for our audience to share to help them in their abundance of wealth and like wealth. I like that word. I'm going to start using wealth.
Yes. Doesn't it feel good? We all deserve it. We all deserve it.
Wealth is like so buttery wealth.
Yeah. It's so feminine, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we're taking the power back of wealth. People have made it so masculine, but no, it's actually feminine. So there you go. But yes, I do have a gift. I have an ebook for the audience, 9 top signs that it's time to divorce your narcissist, because I get so many questions about just what it looks like, how they can be a little bit more familiar about going through the process, maybe wanting to stay in the marriage, not really sure where to go. So that'll be a gift for the audience to really get a bit more clarity on that specific process within the divorce process as well.
Yeah, and that's important. It would be good also to kind of review, just because as you go into a new relationship, you don't want to pick
repeat. Oh,
you do
no.
not want to repeat.
Don't do like me. Don't be a 2-time repeat offender.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tara. It's so great to have this conversation with you.
Yes,
I am expanding my relationship with wealth and
yes,
changing from poverty mindset to prosperity.
Yes.
And
you deserve it.
We all do.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this community and speak to all of you beautiful women, and what you've created with this summit. I mean, I've had so many people out to me asking about more information with what you've created, and it's just a wonderful resource for women. So thank you.
Thank you for being a participant.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. And everyone out there, go have a beautiful rest of your day.